Good morning, good day. Welcome, 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 welcome. Two announcements. The first is we'll be having our next online retreat next Friday, May 31st, 2024. And so please come, please sign up, please join. And then our next in-person retreat is July 14th through the 19th at Kripalu. I hope you can come to both, at least one. So I try to do a lot of online retreats so that people from all over the world can show up. The beautiful thing about retreats is, one, they're the most powerful spiritual practice that we can join in. And two, like retreats keep us honest. They keep us honest when we really sit down and spend a weekend together opening. It gives us an opportunity to see what is it that we truly want. What is it that we're doing? Are we walking in the direction of the truth? Are we choosing the truth? Are we open and receptive to this light, this grace, this incredible love which is here supporting us all? It keeps us committed in how keeps us honest about how committed we are to this path. And one thing is for certain about Kundalini, it demands that we are committed, demands that we are committed. And so I hope you can join those. Okay, and I see a couple new faces in the room, so welcome to you. I normally will offer a teaching in the beginning for 20 minutes or so, and then we'll do a sharing, time for sharing. And then we do questions 1 hour from now. But I'm going to right away throw you all a curveball with our normal plan. I want to know, like, what is it that you're wanting today? So if anyone has a question, if you could put it in the chat, or if there's something you would like me to speak on, please bring something forward. You know, I tend to speak about the similar topics each week, but that's because most of us struggle with Kundalini with overwhelming energies. Okay, so not seeing anyone put anything in the chat, so I'm going to speak about what I was going to speak about. Get everything just right. Okay. So I'm going to invite you all just to close your eyes right now. And I'm going to invite you just to notice what's here. What's here? What's here in the space of your consciousness? In fact, I'm going to invite you to look at and experience directly the space of your consciousness. So before we dive into all the contents of our consciousness, I invite you to feel into the spacious peace of your consciousness. And this is something that is so overlooked. When Kundalini has awoken, because Kundalini is so loud, it's intense, it's fiery. But can you notice the space that's here all the time? A space that is absolutely quiet and sane. A space that is undivided. And so for all of us, you know, it could be helpful if you just begin to imagine your mind expanding beyond the edges of the head, the skull, and noticing that your consciousness, awake awareness, is spacious. There's lots of room. There is room for energy to flow. There's room for energy to flow. And so let's just start with this recognition that there is space here. One of the most healing things we could do for Kundalini Shakti is to recognize there is space here for Kundalini to flow. There's space here for our body to have any reaction it needs to have to the Kundalini Shakti. So sometimes our body will have a reaction of overwhelm. Sometimes it will have a reaction of hypersensitivity. Sometimes there'll be emotion here. Sometimes there'll be a feeling of great stimulation or great tiredness. And again, let us stay in this point of spaciousness that has room for everything. It has room if any of the chakra centers are blocked. That there's room here for energy to flow. And so whatever you feel, whether it's sensitivity, we let the sensitivity to flow into the spaciousness. We have a blocked root chakra. I invite you just to imagine that energy to flow into the spaciousness. If there's any resistance here, we allow this resistance to empty out and to release. Often our human mind determines that it likes some sensations and dislikes others. And our human mind fights with our experience. This day, I'm going to invite us to put down the fight and just to be the space, fully allowing whatever is here to be here. To be here. Now, fully allowing doesn't mean you run with it. So if you have a busy mind, you can acknowledge that the mind is busy. You focus on the space beyond the mind. If your emotions are hurting, you allow the hurt to unravel, to release, to grieve, to empty. We don't need to identify with the thoughts that come with the emotions. I invite us to identify with space, spaciousness. So we're opening to the consciousness of Shiva and allowing Shakti to flow. Opening to the consciousness of Shiva. So spaciousness, peace, emptiness, silence, vastness, and allowing Shakti to flow. To flow. We breathe, we feel, we soften. And so softening in the crown chakra, softening the space of the third eye and the throat, softening in the heart, behind the heart, the shoulders, softening the solar plexus and the ribs, softening in the middle back. And as you're softening, we're just welcoming the flow of energy. Whether it's emotional energy that's releasing, or whether it's Kundalini Shakti, just let it all flow. To breathing, feeling, softening the space of the hara, the lower abdomen, and softening in the pelvis and the hips. Just letting energy flow. As we breathe, as we feel, as we soften, just letting energy flow. Flowing into the spaciousness. Spaciousness which has no edges, no boundaries. The spaciousness merges into the space of the sky. There's infinite room for energy to flow. So often, as this energy of Kundalini wakes up, if we identify with the body, we will feel pressurized. We'll feel as if all this energy is within us. And I'm going to invite you to open all the doors and the windows within your consciousness. All the doors and the windows in the body, just allowing this energy to flow. And for some of you, you're identified too much with that command center in the mind. It's okay to let go of that. We can let go of it just right now and just see what happens if I don't control my experience. Just open the gate and let the bull run out the big open field. The big open field. Just letting all this pent up energy flow, release, empty. And trusting that it's okay if the body moves, if it shakes, if it dances, if there's kriyas, if it nods or bobs or weaves. It's okay. Kundalini is it's a dancing yoga. It's a dancing yoga. And it's okay to smile a little bit and just let our body dance. Smile, say, okay, I'm on the path, the dancing yogi. path of the dancing yogi. We're on the path of dancing Shiva. So just letting it flow, letting it empty, letting it release. And so for many of you, you're going to have to relax that sense of self-consciousness, the sense of control, the sense of fear. Just relaxing, just letting energy flow. Empty, move. All the while, there's plenty of space here. And I want everyone to identify as the space, to know yourself as a space. This great, peaceful, spacious sanity. In which all this phenomena arises. We're not the thinking mind, we're not the controlling mind. We're not the phenomena, we're the space in which everything flows. I am the space in which everything flows. And so again, I'm just going to invite you just to feel all the way down along the spine and the central nervous system, all the way down, letting go in the root, letting go in the hara, letting go in the solar plexus, letting go in the heart, letting go in the throat, letting go in the third eye, letting go in the crown. And with that, you may notice this energy beginning to flow more intensely up the spine, unrestricted. Can we smile and allow this energy to flow, allow it to dance in this space of consciousness that you are. That you are. Okay, well, I'll welcome you to this Kundalini group. And if you like, you can continue sitting or you can open your eyes. See a couple questions popped up in the chat. This is from Sandra. Sandra writes, can you speak about severely blocked root chakra? Cannot sit at all since December. Yeah, and with Kundalini, sometimes it gives us pretty wild experiences, pretty intense experiences. So a blocked root chakra is going to have to do, most likely, our root chakra will be blocked if we don't feel safe here on planet Earth. If we don't feel safe. And it could just be purely that we're a normal human being and this Kundalini came into us and all of a sudden we felt like this volcano in our root. It's like, oh my God, what is that? And so we resist there, we fear there. And ultimately, Kundalini is the energy of life. The realization of the root chakra is you are life. And so we want to be able to open to this. We want to be able to open to this. And of course, to open to this, we have to trust in life, trust in this energy, trust in God. And one of the themes of our upcoming retreat is going to be developing a greater relationship with God. Greater relationship where we see that God is always communicating to us. And, part of the retreat will focus on how to communicate with God. But in this case, if we're fearing an explosion of Kundalini in a particular center, that's pointing out, the fear is pointing out that we don't fully trust. That we don't fully trust anytime we're blocked It means that there's something within us that doesn't trust. And so it's a great, great investigation for us. So it could just be that we're afraid of the energy, very common thing, very normal human response. It could also mean that we have, great trauma in regards to life and feeling safe here on planet Earth, which most people have some of that at least, like some level of trauma about life here on planet Earth. We've been on the receiving end. And so we don't feel safe. When we don't feel safe, we close the root chakra. If we close the root chakra with Kundalini flowing through it, we're going to have some trouble. Okay. Yeah. So Corinne has 2 questions here. And what is tiredness a result of Kundalini awakening? Tiredness is a result of resisting Kundalini awakening. So tiredness is a result of, so Kundalini tends to bring great energy into our body, like tremendous life force, prana, chi into the body. And for most people, if you're fully open to the Kundalini, you might just be overwhelmed with energy. You might not sleep. You might just feel like you're on I'll just say this. You might feel like you're on drugs, like the caffeinated kind of drugs, just like, so much energy is flowing through me. But for some of us, for most of us, like when this big energy comes into us, we're scared. Again, this relates to the first question. We're like, this is too much. I can't handle this. And the place inside that says, I can't handle this, whether that's conscious or unconscious, that part will fight and it will resist the energy. And that resistance creates fatigue and tiredness. Okay. For some individuals, this is more rare. Sometimes the Kundalini will take away all your energy, like all your, say, your human energy, and we'll feel, almost a sense of like a depression or like a feeling of being in the void. And often the Kundalini is doing that because it needs us to absolutely slow down to a stop in life and just to be with our experience. And sometimes, like if we are very resistant, and again, like I was resistant, and it wasn't that Craig, was resistant. It was my body was resistant because I had a pretty traumatized body in this lifetime. And so my body would fight with the energy. And so God had to kind of come into me and really pull all my human fight out of me so that the work that the Kundalini was wanting to do, the work of spiritual awakening, could continue. And that's really humbling, but sometimes God takes all of our energy away. Sometimes God puts us in bed just because it's like a forced ashram experience, and because we're not going to stop working in our regular life or whatever. Okay. She goes on to write, how to maintain living in the earthly realm while developing spiritually. I'm noticing losing interest in many earthly phenomena. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to encourage us all just to erase the division between the earthly and the spiritual, and to acknowledge this is a spiritual world that we live in. Of course, we're all having a big spiritual experience. And, it just happens in life. Like my daughter, she's in the 5th grade, my youngest daughter. She's going into the 5th grade. And at the school she's at, it's just a teeny little Catholic school. 5th grade is going to be middle school for her. And so she's going to go through this transition. So she's going to have to let go of some things as she goes into middle school. Now, my little girl, she's 10, she still believes in Santa. She's going to have to let go of Santa and the Easter Bunny, as she transitions into, middle school. And so she's going to, lose faith, like the question asks, like we might lose faith in earthly phenomena, but I hope we gain faith in spiritual realities. And when we gain faith in the spiritual and lose faith in the quote unquote earthly, our life will grow and expand and continue. If we lose faith in the earthly and we don't step into something new and greater, we're often going to feel confused, in that transition. We're going to feel like we're in some limbo land. And so it's so important as we're letting go of the old to step into the new. And for some of us, like, this can be shocking. We may have been, like me, as a young kid, I grew up on a skateboard, and I rode that skateboard for a couple decades. But now it's like I have zero interest in being on a skateboard anymore. Like, maybe if I go to California and I'm on the boardwalk on the ocean, I might roll on a skateboard just for fun. But I'm not skating on vert ramps and hanging out at the skate park anymore. I outgrew that. Something greater, a new world came into my life. And that's just the nature of an evolutionary world. It's the nature of spirituality, is we're always evolving to greater and greater levels of consciousness. And so if we go back to kind of the meditation for today, if we step into this vast spaciousness and know ourselves as this spaciousness, what we find is that we can more quickly be fluid and change and just flow with whatever the truth is. But if we identify with our body and our mind and our egoic nature, we start to lose our old friends. That's going to be real shocking to us. It's like, oh, these are my old friends. These are the people I had tea with on Tuesday every day for, the past 8 years. And that can be hard. There could be a lot of grieving. And so the more identified you are with your human earthly form and your earthly life, you're going to have more grieving. The more you're identified with your divinity, and especially the spacious, empty vastness that doesn't fit in a name or form, it's very easy just to flow with whatever life is bringing to you. And sometimes my wife will look at me, she'll say, I feel like I don't know you. And I'm like, because I'm always changing or stepping into something new, or a different aspect of my consciousness shows up. And I'm very comfortable with being fluid and flexible and empty and free. I mean, to me, that's the whole point of the spiritual path. It's the whole point of yoga. And it's not so much a flexibility in our muscles, it's a flexibility of our consciousness. If you ever hang out with a great master, you'll see they're very flexible. And again, not necessarily in their body, but in their consciousness. They'll just flow into whatever is present. As long as it's the truth, as long as it's the truth. And so we might find, as we become more and more spacious and more empty, that things fall away. And that can be a little bit disconcerting to our human mind. To our divine mind, it's like, oh, it's just it's just phenomena. I don't need any of that anymore. That's not what I am. And so anyways,